and those who are already fishing. What are we going to do with these girls who are now in the gold mines, who are now...
James, Vice President, one of the things that you need to clear is these girls who were at school and conceived and produced, or who are still pregnant, are they going back to school? Can they be accommodated at school? Can they be cancelled to reduce the stigma? Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam. The Vice President for her report. I would like to entirely agree with her that we need to move out and salvage the girl child. But as we move towards the girl child, who stays with this girl child? Even the boy child. So let's have attention of both sexes, the men and the girls. Because as long as we are training our girls to be disciplined, but they are, let me call them hyenas in quotes, so we must have a two-pronged way of approaching this issue. Madam Speaker, when it comes, we have a Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Let's use that structure to bring to order to all the cultural institutions, because we should actually go a long way and leave alone these other workshops. Let's go to the root causes in societies like clans. So why can't the Ministry of Gender prevail upon all clans to ensure that they have to revive the annual clan meetings? And you may find that out of this continuous talk, we shall have a society which is upright. Otherwise, when we call them to these workshops, they sign maybe if you have given them transport, and it ends there. So let it be handled from the real root causes of society. And I would also like to urge Madam Vice President that the 12 months are not even enough. We can even make it 2 years, 24 months. That's like that the message goes deeper to the rural area. I thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I also want to thank the Vice President for her statement. Madam Speaker, in the statement, the Vice President outlined the activities and the scope of this campaign. But she has not clearly come up with the resources that will be needed for this campaign. And yet, when we look at the nature of the activities, you will find out that the activities require enormous resources for the various stakeholders. I think it's a very, very important aspect which the Vice President should take keen interest in. Secondly, as my colleague has said, I would think that this campaign should be continuous. It should not only be a period of 12 years or even 2 years, because the teenage pregnancy has been in this country for long and it has worsened. So I think this campaign should be continuous until we kick out teenage pregnancy, irresponsible parenting, and the rest out of this country. So I will request this should be continuous. And Madam Speaker, one of the major causes of this early pregnancy and all the teenage pregnancy is poverty, which is widely spread. So in the campaign, I think we also need to cater for the poverty eradication interventions, so that at least we also empower the people economically. I think chances are high that this teenage pregnancy will reduce. I think we can see it practically, that when we look at the children of the rich and the poor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. For record purposes, I am Honorable Emma Rose Cherukut, the District Money MP Queen. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate our Vice President for the able statement that she has put before us. I rise on the matter of FGM. I come from that area where female mutilation is done. And as a mother, I can see the chief whip is busy looking at me. I'm also mutilated, but no. So the issue on ground actually is protection, please. Nakut. So the issue here is the act affects the value of a woman, the value of a girl child. It is done at the age of 13, 12 years, not at 18, when these girls are still very young. And the moment the act is done, they are looked at as marriage materials. They should go for marriage. They lose their value in a way that when it comes to delivery, a scar is being created. To deliver becomes very hard. That place has to crack. More pain. So mine is, Madam Vice President, during this campaign, I feel Sebesa region should really be given a special place.
Switch on, switch on. Members,
thank you very much.
Members, we need to help Emma and the Sebe region on FGM.
The thing is not easy. It's not nice. When you look at the Bible, the girl and the boys are supposed to enjoy that act. When it has been done, it reduces the sensitivity of a woman. So tell me, really, it's not a business of dilly-dallying. I need all of you as honorable members, join me to sensitize my community to leave that act. Otherwise, I appreciate you all. Let's sensitize my people so that we leave that and we have a better Sebesa region for better issues there. Education is the key. Number two, we need to talk to the surgeons. They look at it as a business to earn money. And they use very funny weapons, knives, which are not sterilized. And you know we are in the era of HIV. We are in the era of now COVID. What will happen? Asante Nisana for giving me that audience.
Thank you,
Thank
Emma, Lillian. Members, that is not something nice to hear. We really need to fight as Parliament not to allow that happen on our girl children. And as Emma has said, these children should be left to feel. Yes, Lillian.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank Her Excellency for the parents, because the parents are children. You find the 15-year-old mother, the 17-year-old father, they can't fend for themselves, and they have a baby. So it is the grandparents who are trying to struggle. They are old, they are struggling, they cannot catch up with the technicalities of today. So these children get out of hand. And most of the young mothers, after producing and leaving the babies with the grandparents, they remarry. So you find these children at large. Another thing we should focus on when we go is that the men, we used to know our parents, our brothers, were bread earners. In my district or in the region of West Nile, it is now the women who are tending for the families. They have so much to do, yet the responsibility of being close to the children, to teach them what to do, was their responsibility. They now have to put food on the table. They don't have time to sit with the children and guide them. Can we encourage the men of this country to take the responsibility of being bread earners again in their families, so that the mothers can have time to talk to the children, to guide them, to teach them the rightful things, because you find the mother is in the garden, is in the market in the evening, has to put food on the table, has to look for school fees. Then the children at large, and the men, they are only left with the responsibility of putting the women and the young mothers, young girls pregnant, because the women are not the ones impregnating themselves. It is the men. They have relaxed. They don't want to take responsibility. Their time is only to sleep.
Can we hear from the girl children? The girl, I mean the young MPs. The young MPs, the youth MPs.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to add on the voice of my colleagues to thank Her Excellency the Vice President for the initiative of a national campaign addressing the plight of the girl child. Right Honorable Speaker, the increasing numbers of teenage pregnancies across the country is not a pleasant sight for us as leaders. And I think we all entirely agree as a nation that it is a responsibility, we all have a role to play. I would like to request the Vice President that in such a campaign, where you get to reach out to different girls across the country, you get to involve the youth leadership. Uganda has a National Youth Council that is well structured from village to national level, and each of these district youth councils have girls on them, have male colleagues on them that would be very, very inspirational to the fellow young people that you get to meet. My colleague and I have done a campaign sampling across the country, trying to reach out to different girls that have gotten pregnant during this pandemic. And I can assure you that the effort that the two of us have put is not enough. But most importantly, Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to encourage the Vice President to strongly include the role of men in protecting the girl child in our societies. It would be our delight to see many more male champions at the forefront of this campaign, because it all begins with social responsibility. It does not take us anywhere to have many going on the campaign, Right Honorable.
Another young MP.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like also to thank the Vice President for the statement of the national campaign against the teenage pregnancies and violence, the teenage pregnancies and early marriages, failed parenthood, and defilement. I also want to add my voice to what my colleague has submitted as a representative of the young people of the Buganda region, because even here on the table, the Vice President has presented to us, you see that Buganda is the most affected on the girl child who have been hit with teenage pregnancies. So my request is that we involve the representation, like us, the MPs for the youths, will be involved in this campaign, and also the leadership of the young people, that is the National Youth Council. As my colleague has elaborated, that we have structures right from village level, and all these structures, each level has a female representative, I mean, a girl representative. So it would be so good for us to involve those young girls and boys who are directly affected by these problems. Second, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, my other appeal is, as we campaign to the girl child, we put the boy child on the front, and also the parents, because the parents have forced the young girls into marriages.
Dr. Tala?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to begin by joining colleagues in thanking Her Excellency the Vice President for her statement that seeks to launch a campaign against defilement, early marriages, and failed parenthood. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to begin by addressing the issue of failed parenthood. And I would like to draw the attention of honorable members to what used to happen in terms of parenting way back in the 60s, 70s, and much earlier. Parenting used not to be the preserve of only the parents. Whereby every village or the community would take charge of an errant child if they found them misbehaving. This is no more. And I think we need to tap into this, that whereas now we have various laws that guard against mistreatment of children, sometimes you find that parents take them, such laws, very far. And so you hear about, why did you rebuke my child? Yet a neighbor was merely trying to give guidance to a child. And I think as we launch this campaign, we need to tap into this important aspect of the social fabric that we used to enjoy. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, just maybe...
Members, there are those who would really wish to speak, but you will speak on the next topic. But when we talk about failed parenting, member Nakut, you're going to speak. Even Jane will speak. Now, when you talk about failed parenting, I want also to bring this, that even us within here, I have got complaints. Members, take charge of your children. I am tired of counseling. Take charge of your children you get from out.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I was just making that point.
No, Nakut.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I also wish to add a voice to the one of my colleagues to thank the Vice President for giving a very good statement, well articulated, and to thank Cabinet for being mindful about our daughters. From the people I represent, the numbers go up to 2,000 girls. Those are the ones who have reported to the hospital, excluding those who are begging in the street. The 2,000 are impregnated, so the matter touches me, and that's why I want to thank you. I thank Cabinet for invoking the relevant laws. This is very good. My prayer is that the invocation happens retrospectively from the date Cabinet decided to invoke, so that the people who are responsible for impregnating these girls get the required punishment. It will teach those who are yet to do it not to do it. The other thing I request that we add to the campaign is the care for these girls who are already pregnant. The medical care for these girls who are pregnant, including those who might suffer the leakage because their wombs are not ready, they're not prepared for pregnancy. The other thing I would wish we add to this campaign is a disciplinary action for the officers who slept on their job. These laws have been there, on Right Honorable Speaker, but they've not been implemented. There were people who slept on the job. There were officers who negotiated with the parents. We have CIDs officers, we have the judicial officers, we have the prosecutors. A disciplinary measure for those who did not do their work should be included in this campaign so that it is handled holistically. A multi-sector
Museveni.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also thank the Vice President. Right Honorable Speaker, I restrict myself on the role of parents. Right Honorable Speaker, I think the parents have not done their work. I always ask myself, why is it that it is now when the schools are closed? Why is it that it is outrageous now? I think they have not done their work. I think we should think on what to do with the parents who are negligent on their children. Really, this is costing Uganda the future. These are the people who are supposed to be here after us. But now, there's no future for this country. We should not just sit and watch. If you consider the laws, they are outlining the laws of every stakeholder as far as a child is concerned. But now, the parents are busy doing their work. Some parents, by the way, for the information to this house, they are instigating the early marriages. They are the initiators. And not only the poor families, even the rich families, they are the ones arranging for the marriage of these younger girls in expectation of the gifts, like where they give cows. You find a 13-year, I normally call it child fattening. You find a child of 13 years, they keep her in the house, they give her milk, and she's like someone of 20 years. And then she gets married. Then really we should do something to the parents who are negligent to the future of the girl child. I submit.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to appreciate the good report by Her Excellency, the Vice. Thank you so much for this good report about the girl child. Right Honorable Speaker, as we advocate for violence-free against women and girls, still I'll have to add my voice to my fellow colleagues of sensitizing our parents to put in a lot of effort in advocating for the violence-free against a girl child. But now, Right Honorable Speaker, some of these parents, they think that these children are for the government. So I will propose that we provide a full program of sensitizing our parents in the whole country, a program of mindset change, not only for the youth, but also for parents, sensitizing them, telling them, informing them that it is their right. Yes, the government will not come to your home and tell you that please tell your girl that this is the dangerous place, this is the place that you shouldn't go as a girl child, or if we don't do this, this violence against children or this early pregnancy or this violence against our girls will increase. Let us combine effort, go down there in our constituencies and sensitize our parents against this. But we cannot do it if we have not realized that there is a full program that we can put in place to sensitize our parents to realize that it is their role and their first role model as far as this program is concerned. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Kinkise. Motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Motion.
Madam Speaker.
There is a motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise under Rule 59, motion without notice, and it's 59C, motion for adjournment of a debate on our rules of procedure of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, I move that we adjourn the debate and ask the Vice President to respond, and then we move to another thing. I beg to move.
Is the motion seconded?
Second.
Members, the rules talk of 1 hour for a debate of a minister's statement, and we've taken over 1 hour. We've taken over 1 hour. Would really wish to go to the next item. Can we just have the person who was on the floor, the leader of opposition, the Minister of Children?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for allowing me at this point. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Vice President for this report. And Madam Speaker, I want to think that it is in good faith and intending to address the brightness of our children out there. Madam Speaker, in the same vein, I want to draw the attention of the Vice President and the government to the situation in Uganda, because raising awareness without addressing the political issues will not solve the problem, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one man said that if you are to synchronize the status quo, you have to synchronize the quagmire we are in. And the quagmire is, Madam Speaker, the children who are going for marriage at early age are going there because of a problem, a push factor. And the push factors is the poverty, the wallowing, where the people are wallowing in poverty, and this matter must be critically addressed by the government. For example, Madam Speaker, in this situation of COVID, the 2 years of lockdown, children of the well-to-do have not gotten pregnant. The children of the poor people are the ones who are pregnant, because the children of the rich have gotten access to education, have continued to be educated, while the other ones are wallowing in the villages and have been devoured by the wrong people. Madam Speaker, can we have also a policy? Because, Madam Speaker, there is a policy on free education, but it allow me to conclude. Is it free? Madam Speaker, you are a member of Parliament. You know what we are suffering there. The children have failed to attain even primary and secondary school education because of high prices of education. Can we address that also? Madam Speaker, I want to request the government to present to this Parliament how they are going to address the critical areas where our children are becoming victims and they are prone to these conditions because of the situation we are in. And if we are not address this issue of sanitary pads, if we don't continue guising about this matter of poverty and this situation where we are not treating the poor in this situation, we are not going to address this raising of awareness, Madam Speaker, is going to be a sham activity if we don't critically address the areas of concern, the push factors, why our children are getting prone to these conditions. I salute you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Wapa?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, this statement by the Vice President comes after we had earlier debated the issue of the girl child. Right Honourable Speaker, first and foremost, we shall never end these defilement, teenage pregnancies, early marriages, when the police that is supposed to be enforcing the laws is not doing its work. So the enforcement, we have all the necessary legislations, the enforcement has been the challenge. Even where the cases are clear, they will make sure that shoulder investigations are carried out and the file that is sent to DPP is shallow, and therefore they cannot secure a conviction. So, Right Honourable Speaker and President, we need to first deal with the law enforcers. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, different districts have come up with ordinances. My own district, early marriages were rampant. We came up with an ordinance. We are targeting the defilers, but we are forgetting that we have the parents, we have the LOCs. In my district in Tororo, we had indicated, of course now with the lockdown, the COVID lockdown, it brought other challenges. But if a girl under 18 is married in your village, the LOC must be held responsible, together with the parents. So if we don't do that, we shall not end this problem. Majority of the girls that are getting married early, before 18, is because of sometimes the pressure from the parents. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, the parent, I want to appreciate the Right Honorable, Your Excellency, the Vice President, on bringing this issue of parenting. Today, I was informed of a young mother that came here with a child of 6 months, a baby. The father is one of us here. And the father has failed to take responsibility. So as we debate this matter, colleagues, as we support this particular statement and support the motions, can we be role models? Can we be role models first and foremost? No, we shall not name, but I just want to inform that member of parliament.
Members, can I have order in the house?
I want to inform.
I am not going to allow any order. I have said myself, yes. I am tired of counseling women here. Women come here with the children. It is the MPs who impregnate these girls and they abandon these girls. Just imagine this girl is your kid. This girl is your daughter. Sechkubo, you have a daughter who is very young and somebody irresponsibly impregnates and doesn't take care.
So, Right Honorable Speaker,
Opposition.
Right, Honorable.
There is a
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For allowing me to give my comments on this very important subject. Right Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Saro Pendi said, we discussed this matter at length and we made some resolutions that various agencies were supposed to carry out some exercise and come back to Parliament with the results. I don't know whether this one of them, because we did direct the Minister of Education to wait for the schools to happen and to do better assessment of how many children are affected through this closure of schools and child pregnancy. Right Honorable Speaker, I have read the document, but I have not seen the cure. We are talking about sensitization, getting the cultural leaders involved, getting political leaders sensitized, parents sensitized, getting all these things. We are all sensitized by having your daughter of 10 years, 12 years, pregnant, you're already sensitized. How do I need a president to talk and tell me that I must take care of my child? Do I need the vice president to tell me that as a man, as a member of parliament, should not sleep with a child? I think these are realities. We have to face it as Ugandans. We must go back to our roots. Cultural leaders must take responsibility seriously. But when you allow these NGOs to tell our children that if your father beats you up, you go and report to your mother or your father for beating you up, that's wrong. We should go back to our cultural roots and teach our children how to be children. Really, if our parents were reckless, we would not be representing the people of Uganda. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm concerned about the document. There are so many things lacking there. I would have expected action. Cure is absent from here. So I would like us to be informed after you have sensitized me and feel pain about the pregnancy of my grandchild. What else are you going to do? I want the government to tell me these children who got pregnant at the age of 10, 12, 15, 17, what are you going to do with them? Important thing, we are all fed up with them in our homes, in our community. They are there. A child breastfeeding a fellow child. So can the government come up with a practical solution to this problem? Right, Honorable Speaker, we are politicians, we can speak, we can make speeches, but it will take us nowhere. I want the government to come up with a practical solution to this problem. I thank you.
Procedure matter from Nakawa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, firstly, I must say, because I had a colleague talk about parents encouraging their daughters to dress decently. Madam Speaker, I'm a father to a daughter. And as my little girl grows up, I'll encourage her to dress decently like a lady. However, I think we should also encourage the men to have self-control for heaven's sake. There should be no excuse that a man defiled a girl simply because she was dressed in a miniskirt and so he jumped on her. That's not acceptable, Madam Speaker. But the procedural matter I'm raising, Madam Speaker, would it not be procedurally right for you to guide that there be a regular update to this House by the Vice President about this campaign? Because she said it's going to run for a year. Can we have a regular update, let's say monthly, about tangibly what is being done? Because you see, having a campaign is one thing. We have had so many campaigns. But you see, if there is no action taken, the campaign and the sloganeering will remain just that. Can we have a regular update, say per month, that so many men have been arrested and action has been taken, they have defiled girls? A update about the promise to provide pads, sanitary towels, because that's the promise that was made by government. Can we have regular updates on these things? If we don't do that, Madam Speaker, it's going to remain another sloganeering that will not bring us any results at the end of the day. I thank you.
I think we will need a quarterly update from the Vice President on these matters. And what Emat Cecilia was talking about, what about the girls who have already conceived, delivered? We need a pre and post counseling of these girls. And then, of course, we also need to understand what is going to happen in terms of the education. Will the schools accommodate them? And that kind of thing. And of course, we are really overemphasizing on a girl child. The people who are misbehaving are boy children. Now, if we don't talk about the boy children, they will continue spoiling the girl children. Let's talk, put the boy children on the front line that you say, government chief whip, reduce your appetite. So we need both of these children talked to, both the girl children and the boy children, I know Sechkubo is very good at it, Sechkubo. So we should make sure that the boy children are also online. A leader of opposition.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you. I would like you to feel proud for allowing this debate to take this long, because we do debate a lot of cost stuff in this House of Parliament. The Honourable Kasaija is very anxious because she has a loan to present. The other members are very anxious because they have what they think are very urgent matters to dispose of. Then we lose sight of matters close to us because we never afford them the time they desire. Right Honourable Speaker, feel proud in the fact that members have had enough time to discuss this subject matter, very sensitive. Some of us come from extremely conservative communities where sexuality and attendant challenges are never discussed, and therefore we lose sight. Our work here as legislators is devoid of that software that makes us human and is able to guide our legislation for posterity. Therefore, I will not go in a lot of detail. I will only speak about principally two issues because I believe enough justice has been afforded to this subject matter. Initially, thank my friend, the Vice President, for the initiative. The initiative will bear much fruit if followed with practical action. For instance, now that we are beginning the budget process, I'm anxious to see how provision will be made of a long-standing promise of sanitary wear for the girl child. Short of that, like a colleague observed, we would be engaged in sloganeering, and that is inconsequential. Would not help the cause for which we are. Parliament, Dr. Chris and others recall that we tried, the 9th Parliament, we debated the possibility of having a committee of Parliament on post-legislative scrutiny to try and understand the efficacy of the legislation that we take and the practicality of the laws that we enact as Parliament. I had a member complaining about whether the Children's Act has actually had effect, the kind of momentum we thought it would bring into the protection of our children. But we do not actually. It arises because we have no occasion to undertake post-legislative scrutiny. Perhaps this Parliament, Right Honourable Speaker, should redebate that possibility because in other jurisdictions in the Commonwealth, it is undertaken and is helpful in assessing as to whether the laws we make actually work or we need to revisit them to take charge of routinely emerging issues in our communities. Right Honourable Speaker, we should not lose sight of the raw urban information asymmetry. The urban centers, if you look at the information provided by the Vice President, you probably have a big and better flow and sharing of information in the urban areas. The children in the rural areas are more affected. Information is more hidden. Connivance is more awash between security and community leaders in the rural areas. So we need to find a framework that can make information sharing feasible and urgent. So, conclude in a minute, Right Honourable. We would like to see this information sharing feasible and available, and of course taking charge, now that Honourable Yomus is around, of the challenge that technology is posing to our children. Our children are consuming a lot of adult information on sex and sexuality. And one of the reasons why some conservative communities and schools are still opposed to sexuality education because we have not provided a boundary between sexuality and sex education. And we need to be very clear for us to be able to attract the desire for schools to accommodate this. Finally, Honorable Speaker, we had waited for the Minister of Education to avail to the country a safe school reopening framework, which we are yet to get. Part of it would be to explain how government is planning to deal with the children that are pregnant. I do not know how many colleagues here would candidly say that they would send to a class their own children and share a desk or a seat with a pregnant girl. If not possible, can we discuss as leaders how we're going to deal with this? Are we dealing with the prenatal or postnatal education of these children? Right, Honourable Speaker. Because I think we are just being, we're just talking about this without providing the
Honourable Member, when your leader of opposition is speaking, is final. You don't give information to your leader of opposition.
I would like to invite the Minister of Education to share with the country a framework under which these pronouncements of they will go back to school pregnant, how we are going to deal with the trauma of a pregnancy, how the schools being oriented to receive pregnant children, and the teachers being oriented to deal with children that have been recruited into adulthood that look like them. Right, Honourable Speaker, I know this is a very dicey matter, but I'm inviting a honest discussion about these possibilities so that as political leaders, like I said earlier, we do not have space for lamentation. That's not our space. Our space is practical solutions to these challenges. But, Honourable Speaker, allow me to conclude this because we can speak until the cows come home about this subject. As senior is insistent, I will yield a second, right, Honourable Speaker, with your indulgence.
Thank you for giving way. On the issue of pregnant girls being admitted back in the school, I think this is a matter which we can deal with, because I just want to inform you that some years back, Parliament would not allow pregnant women in the house. It was considered a taboo for a woman to appear in the house pregnant. But today, it is a sign of pride.
Which house? Parliament?
I'm saying, in the past, it was not easy for a pregnant woman to be a member of Parliament and pregnant and carrying the baby in the stomach. It was considered, but today, it is a pride. For women to be pregnant, you want actually to be seen that you are pregnant. So I think it is important that we should educate our community to accept that a child who is pregnant should also feel comfortable to be pregnant, just as I feel comfortable, or any woman would feel comfortable to be pregnant in Parliament. Thank you.
Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. We have a day care center here in Parliament that looks after the children of our members of Parliament and staff. And I have never known Parliament denying ladies who are pregnant to be in the house. It's their right, constitutional right. But anyway, we cannot blame Imad Cecilia. You know, she stopped producing some 30 years ago. So we can't blame her.
Let me congratulate Honourable Speaker by inviting honourable colleagues here to go to your district and establish whether they have juvenile and children courts in these districts that are capable of dealing with child-related defilement cases, because dealing with defilement is very complex in law and in courts. The Children's Act is very clear on the fact that every district shall have a juvenile and children's court, find out, and if they're not there, The Minister of Finance is here, should be able to establish that they are facilitated under the JLOS financing framework. If not, it's a wake-up call. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Can we have the Minister of Children? We want to know what you've done to the perpetrators of the law. It's a constitutional right for the children, and then it is also under the Penal Code Act on defilement, and we've had a number of people defiling, and then the aspect of incest. So could we be able to know how many have been put to book in this respect?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Vice President for the statement and for the issues that the members have raised here. Right Honourable Speaker, on November 20th, we were celebrating the International Day, or the International Children's Day, and the theme was very clear: investing in our future means investing in our children. And I'm not making a statement. It is very clear that, Right Honourable Speaker, whatever we are debating here, whatever development plans that we have, if we do not address the issues of our children, we may not go very far. Right Honourable Speaker, I'll talk like three things only. One, on the issue of parenting. On the issue of parenting, and it all starts with us. As members of Parliament, those who are here, just make a flashback, a reflection, and see what time do you go to see your children? How many hours do you spend with your children? You leave all the responsibility with the women. At times the women also go to work. So it all starts with us. And I disagree with the member who said that the well-to-do children do not face these problems. I have been having such cases where you find this, one of the partners is one is a lawyer, another one is a doctor, and the child is impregnated by a shamba boy. So I get such cases. So don't look at well-to-do, all the children face the same challenges. Right Honourable Speaker, you have talked about counseling, and I still repeat that we should make a reflection, we as members of Parliament, that tomorrow when you're going out there, they know that you can talk for the children. Now, if you're the one who is doing this, how will you begin to talk in your constituencies? And all this starts with the mindset. If you see a lady and you say, this is my daughter, this is I can inform you that they are doing good work. They do the issue of monitoring, coordination on issues to do with the children's rights. At times they address the problems that children face, especially the defilement cases in case they report. So that it is functional. Lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to inform my colleagues that when we're celebrating the day, the International Children's Day, UNICEF agreed that all members of Parliament should go back to their constituencies and listen to these children. They are willing to facilitate you, And I will request those who are interested to go and listen to those children. You know what they are going through. I was hearing whatever you are raising here, issues to do with police, issues to do with probation, issues to do with the community development officers. As we begin this campaign, please have time and go and listen to the children in your constituencies. You will debate better, you will make better policies after listening to the children. And I would request any member of parliament who feels would like to listen to the children in your constituencies, could you please register with the office of the government chief whip, and then we plan accordingly so that we listen to our children. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to stop there. Thank you so much.
Members, it's not anybody who wishes to. It's all members of parliament. All members of parliament must take a lead on this. And we must go and talk to our children, to the local leaders on what is happening to the children out there before the schools start. Because these children need to be talked to. They've lost hope. They are hopeless. They've lost hope. So you need to get them back, give them hope, and they are able to lead the life that they have been living. And Her Excellency, can you conclude with this? Yes. Imat wants to share information, but her information is always obsolete. It is as old as her.
Right Honorable Speaker, before the Vice President comes in, I thought it's important to give you information based on the program you have laid, or the information you are giving us, that we must listen to these children and probably will learn more. Right Honorable Speaker, I took the trouble to mobilize about 2 sub-counties. I called all those girls to come and I talked to them, to come alone, and I talked to them. I was so devastated and I cried tears, an old woman like me, because of what I saw. Some of them came, they was already carrying a child, about 13 or 14 years, is already carrying a child and is already pregnant. That's what I saw. He's already pregnant and he's carrying a baby. And now what do I do? And then these girls, they tell me that they are facing 2 disasters. One, the boys always deny. They disappear. They either move away from the village, they move to somebody else, to somewhere else. So it's difficult to trace the boy because he doesn't want to run into trouble. The second thing, their parents also chase them away from home. So they don't know what to do. And this is how they get into more trouble from one pregnancy to another, because you now don't even have resources to feed the child you already have. And because you want to live, you now give yourself to some border or any willing man who can give you a meal for the day. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we are willing to go back, but I want members to know or to understand by so doing. So when we go, we should go with a program. And Right Honorable Speaker was able to set up some kind of arrangement where some of those girls could go through some training in tailoring and something like that. We have to go with solution. It is not just enough to listen to them and hear their frustration. It hurts you more. As particularly women, it hurts you more. Of course, these boys also, we need to talk to them. When they are behaving like men, they stop thinking. They start thinking when they realize they have made a disaster. That's the problem.
Now,
so we have to sensitize the men starting from here. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
We've gotten the information and from Miss Uganda. I think that's how Miss Ogwal saw you. Honorable Vice President, just to summarize.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues,
32 members of parliament have made contributions, but you will allow me just to make a statement to summarize the responses and not to go on a case-by-case basis. For instance, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to appreciate the fact that all the contributions are in the spirit of owning and having collective responsibility on this very pertinent matter. But also I have liked the way colleagues have demonstrated the fact that the matter before us is not about accusations and counter-accusations, but it's a matter that requires solutions from all of us. And I would now like to make small responses to a few issues which cut across according to the way you presented them, colleagues. Firstly, Madam Speaker, we are going to do this campaign in a time frame of 1 year. But that does not mean that when we finish 1 year, we stop there. We'll review the 1 year, the rigorous 1 year that we are going to undertake, and then we'll share those achievements and challenges and the gray areas which will still be outstanding, so that we can continue the process in a guided manner. So it's not true that after 1 year we will stop, but we'll continue. The 1 year will have a program which you will all receive in Kololo on 3rd, when the First Lady, Minister of Education, Mama Janet, launches the program. You will get a clear program and some other details which may not have been presented here in the interest of time. Madam Speaker, we will take interest in Sebei sub-region and some parts of Karamoja which still participate in FGM. And I want to thank the Minister for Children for responding to issues of the Children's Authority and the interventions that her ministry is making in light of handling the challenges of children, especially child labor. There was a very pertinent question about when schools will open. Schools will open on 10th January 2022. And we are all encouraged to go and drum up support for all children to return to school. All universal primary education schools and universal secondary education schools will open on that day under the policy which we are all conversant with, and we are encouraged to tell parents whose children are pregnant, but also those who have given birth and yet they are school-going age, to take them to school for further advice from teachers. And I want to thank someone who raised the issue of teachers being stakeholders in this campaign. So all the children pregnant, those who gave birth, but they are carrying the children, but they are of school-going age, must also report to school. They will be managed. We are all parents. The situation is before us. It is our responsibility to handle it. Madam Speaker, allow me now to say that I have taken note of all the issues which members of parliament raised, and they have enriched my statement, and we shall capture all of them in a detailed program and concept which we shall all receive in Kololo on Friday, on 3rd. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Good luck.
Thank you, Vice President. I am happy the government approach is aimed at integrating the collaboration efforts with the various departments and agencies of government to achieve the unity of the efforts towards the shared goal, especially on a girl child. The involvement of the three arms of government, judicial, executive, and legislature is very important. Remember, you are the voice of the voiceless. You should be able to go and speak to the children down there. Let us all support this campaign. It's a national campaign. Whenever we are called upon. And I really want to thank the Vice President for the presentation. And I wish you luck in this campaign. But when you go into this campaign, put in mind the economic inclusion and empowerment of these girl children, either by skilling, training, whichever. We need an inclusion. Involvement of the teachers as core in the campaign to make these children coexist, and then inclusion of the girl child, pregnant or not pregnant, or somebody who has given birth, in education. And as members of parliament, we must speak about this campaign. Let it not just remain here in the debate. Speak about it to whoever cares to hear, on defilement, on a girl child, on what we should do as a country to ensure that we reduce on the pregnancies, early pregnancies for our girls. And we must go back to parenting. You leave home very early in the morning. What time do you go back? Do you ever talk to your children? Do you ever have time for them? The children are in the hands of house girls. And it's these same house girls that at the end of the day spoil our children, or house boys, whichever. So thank you so much. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper, statement by Minister on the commemoration of the World AIDS Day, today 1st December 2021.
Where is the government chief whip?
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to request your indulgence that you give us another time to present the statement, because as I talk now, the ministers in charge are commemorating World AIDS Day with His Excellency the President in Kororo and other guests. So I request for your indulgence, Right Honorable Speaker.
We will do a post-mortem debate, and it will be overtaken by events, as the Vice President has said. So, members, allow me to amend the order paper. Can we look at item 6?
Item 6 on the order paper, motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights, equivalent to United States dollars 90 million, from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary School Education Expansion Project.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. I move that the resolution of Parliament to authorize the government to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights, which is equivalent to US dollars 90 million, from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary School Education Expansion Program. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Seconded by the Government Chief Whip, Minister of ICT, Hajati. All the ministers have seconded. I have Isaac, Liliani, Abigava. seconded by the whole side, including a ton. Even the lobe. Would you love to speak to your motion, Minister?
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this loan, when you authorize, will enable government to finance various activities in the project in the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, to expand the projects which fall in order to improve the quality of education and also to make the life both of the learners and the teachers more comfortable.
Thank you. Yes, there is a report to that effect. Can we get a report from the chairperson of the committee?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for record purpose, I am John Bosco Ikojo, the Member of Parliament, Bukedia County. I'm actually your Member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to lay this report. This report has been uploaded on our iPad over the last 21 days. And before I present the report to the House, I want to beg that you allow me lay some documents, that is the report to the committee, the minutes of the committee, and other relevant documents as per our rules of procedure, 155 sub-rule 5 and 155 sub-rule 7. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Madam Speaker, this is the report on the Committee on National Economy on the proposal to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights equivalent to
There is a procedure.
Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister and the Chairman for the presentation they have started. But since we have the report on the iPad, Right Honourable Speaker, would it need to be procedure right for the Honourable Chair to just summarize for us and bring out the key highlights so that we can discuss and agree? I beg your indulgence.
Yes, the chair is going to summarize the report because there has been an
Madam Speaker, I think my honorable colleague had read my mind. I am not going to read the report in details. And since this report has been with the members for the last over 2 weeks, I'll just go through a few pages, but you'll allow me go through the introduction briefly and the background to the project, and other areas I'll just go through them in brief.
Please go ahead.
Madam Speaker, on the 22nd sitting of the first meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament, that was on the 1st of September 2021, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development presented to this House a request for government to borrow $65.5 million US dollars, 65.6 million special drawing rights, equivalent to 90 million US dollars from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Program. You recall that you referred this loan this loan request to the Committee of National Economy and the relevant sector committee, and that's the Committee of Education, in line with Rule 155, Sub-Rule 2 of our Rules of Procedure. Madam Speaker, this Parliament draws its authority from Article 159 of the Constitution, and also in addition, Section 36 of our Public Finance Management Act 2015 as amended authorizes the ministry to raise funds and by loan and issue guarantees for and on behalf of government. We are also guided by our Public Debt Management Framework 2018, which outlines the principles for acquisition and utilization of public debt for the financial years 2018-19, 2022-2023. In line with that, Right Honorable Speaker, this very framework provides the guidelines for external and domestic borrowing, and one of the guiding principles is that for government should borrow. If government is to borrow, government shall continue to pursue concessional borrowing as a means of meeting its external financing requirements. In the guidelines, the guidelines shall apply that social services projects shall be financed at concessional terms, and I believe that this loan is bought on concessional basis. Madam Speaker, further, I would want to say that our public debt strategy adopted in 2020-2021 gives preference mostly for external funding to be on concessional terms. The background to this project, Madam Speaker, Uganda has the second youngest population and among the most rapidly growing populations in the world. It has a population of approximately 42 million, and an annual population growth rate of 3.3%, with nearly half of our population below the age of 15. This subsequently means that our school-going age, that is 6 to 18 years, is growing at a very high rate. Madam Speaker, government has over time actively prioritized education reforms as an anchor for socio-economic transformation and development. In enrollment. This has led to an increased demand for secondary education services by learners who successfully complete primary education, which necessitates government to expand facilities and other resources so as to cater for the increasing demand for these critical services. In addition, Madam Speaker, the continued influx of refugees into our country, estimated by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, as at May 2021, puts the refugee number to 1.4 million refugees, of which 58% are aged between 0 and 17 years. Madam Speaker, approximately 94% of these refugees live in settlement camps, while the rest live in the urban areas. This has put further strain to our education.
Honorable, can you go to the recommendations?
Education.
We have read your document.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Straight away, Madam Speaker, I wanted to say, Madam Speaker, Thank you so much. On the recommendations of the committee, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, on assumption that members have read through the report, Madam Speaker, the committee made some observations and recommendations. During the scrutiny of the loan request and the oversight field visit, the committee made the following observations and recommendations. 1, the debt sustainability of the country. The committee observed that in the recent past, the tax to GDP ratio has stagnated around 12%, while total domestic revenue have stagnated around 13%. On the other hand, the ratio of public debt to GDP has increased from 35.6% in June 2019 to 49.8% as at June 2021. In the space of three financial years, the growth in GDP, the growth in debt is largely on account of extra borrowing to cover both revenue shortfalls and the COVID-19 containment-related expenditure. Further, as government continues to support economic recovery through provision of economic stimulus package to various sectors and implement it as stipulated in NDP 3, debt is projected to increase further over the medium term. In addition, the committee noted that government in the budget for financial year 2021-2022 devised a number of measures to reduce the debt pressures that include 1, operationalization of the domestic revenue mobilization strategy aimed at increasing domestic revenue by 0.5% point of GDP each year. 2, enhance efforts towards export promotion and import substitution to increase foreign currency inflows and reduce the outflows. 3, sequencing projects with priority given to those giving a bigger growth dividend. In addition, government will also continue to enhance project execution by fully implementing the reforms under the Public Investment Management Strategy for timely realization of their benefits and subsequently their impact on the economy. And 4, limiting domestic borrowing to not more than 1% of GDP in the medium term. Madam Speaker, whereas government commits itself to increase domestic revenue annually by 0.5%, it has remained a challenge. For instance, the NDP 1 and NDP 2 had the same target of increasing domestic revenue annually by 0.5%, by 0.5% of the GDP, which was not achieved. This underperformance of revenue growth has been largely attributed to tax exemptions, tax holidays, and unlimited tax base, since large sections of the economy is informal. The committee recommends that government, through Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, should revise the tax exemptions and tax holiday policies, as well as exploring other means of enhancing domestic revenue mobilization. In addition, government should continue to review its operations with a view of eliminating any wasteful or inefficient expenditure so as to reduce its spending pressures. The second observation of the committee, counterpart funding during the implementation. The committee noted that government has committed $21.6 million for the Universal Secondary Education Expansion Project, which is expected to start from the third year of the project implementation. The Government of Uganda fund will be used for recruiting, training in the new curriculum, paying teachers' salaries to a sufficient number of qualified teachers, as well as financing recurring operations and maintenance budgets of the new schools. The committee noted with concern that government has over years been slow to fulfill its commitments to pay counterpart funding to most of the externally funded projects. This is attributed to inadequate planning at the initial stage of the project. Sometimes funders are forced to suspend their activities, thus causing a sluggish implementation of the project, which can lead to withdrawal from the project. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should ensure that the Ministry of Education and Sports is availed the required counterpart funding to ensure smooth implementation of the project. In addition, government should develop a sustainability strategy to enable effective operation of the new schools even after the project completion. Observation number 3, lotting of bids as a method of procurement. The committee noted that, aware of the contracts under the proposed USEP will be through lotting, as the case was under the U-Gift program, where one contractor was given 3 to 5 sites of seed schools within the same cluster of the districts in the same sub-region. Similarly, the procurement plan for the USEP project indicates that a contractor will be awarded between 4 to 5 sites. The committee, however, noted that with concern that under the U-Gift program, phase 1, contractors were awarded without assessing the capacity of the contractors to manage and complete the projects in time. Shoddy works and failures to complete the sites in time was mostly attributed to lotting of many sites to one contractor, who in most cases has limited financial or human resource, thus making For instance, the physical performance of Kihanga Seed School in Nintungamu district, which was supposed to be completed in January 2021, has stalled at 20% as of October 2021. Against the financial performance of 75%, Maji Seed School in Ajimani district, which started in 2019, stands at 61% physical performance, against the 85% financial performance as at October 2021. The committee was concerned whether the 2 among the many poorly performing schools will be completed, given that the contractors have already been paid over and above the project physical performance, as referred in our Annex 1. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Education and Sports should assess the performance of project contractors and recommend to PPDA to blacklist the non-performing contractors. In addition, the Ministry of Education and Sports, in collaboration with anti-corruption state actors, should investigate the poor performing projects with a view of bringing culprits to book. Given the expenditure in the U-Gift, the experience in the U-Gift project, the ministry should reduce the number of sites in a lot to 2 or 3 to ensure timely implementation of the project and avoid recurrence of problems of the same nature in the proposed U-Gift project. Observation and recommendation number 4, the selection criteria of the project. The committee noted that one of the criteria for a sub-county to benefit from USEP under the non-refugee hosting districts is that the sub-county should have been operational by 2016. without a government senior secondary school and must have at least 7 feeder primary schools. The committee have observed that despite the government policy that requires each parish to have a primary school, a number of parishes in the country do not have any such schools. Moreover, with the creation of new administrative units, the size of some sub-counties have reduced, implying that some schools have a huge population size compared to others. The committee further noted that there are sub-counties that do not meet the criteria of 7 feeder senior secondary schools, but the few available schools are densely populated and can satisfy the need for a new seed secondary school. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Education revises the requirements of 7 schools per sub-county to at least 3. At least 3. Inadequate planning. Honorable members, I'm under pressure to conclude the report. Honorable members.
Honorable Ikojo John Bosco, you're not under any pressure to conclude the report.
So I can proceed?
Honorable, you are the one who said it in your preamble that we've been having this report for 2 weeks. We've read the report, we know what is there. Whether you continue reading, it's going to be a loan-approved period.
I don't want to go against your ruling. Let me conclude, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Ikoja, there is one speaker in this house. Don't listen to Sechi.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you. Madam Speaker, briefly, I wanted to look at the selection criteria. Yeah, I wanted to look at the selection criteria so that members would actually...
Don't disrupt the member, let the chair go.
Honorable members, Madam Speaker, the committee noted that one of the criteria, the recommendation, the committee recommends that at least 3, I finished that one. Inadequate planning of the project. The committee was informed that most of the designs for the school projects are implemented without the involvement of local governments during the planning level, and subsequently the designs end up being defective. In the bills of quantities and designs of the UGIFT project, there were a number of omission of important items. 1, the schools were designed without provision for water in the VIP latrines, which is a critical factor to keep the girls at school. 2, there was no provision for fencing of the school. Therefore, an omission of a fence and security around the school poses a security risk to the school, making the equipment susceptible to malicious damage, vandalism, trespass, and theft. The school constructed will be equipped with ICT and computers, the libraries, science laboratories, and the new furniture. Schools were designed to have only one sports football field, and yet there are several sports that require development. There are no provisions made for a school kitchen, and there was no provision for the head teacher's residence. There was no budget for the individual site feasibility and environmental studies that were to be done by the districts. As a matter of urgency, the Ministry of Education and Sports should secure these constructed schools by way of erecting fences around them. The USEP projects of in the USEP project, the Ministry of Education and Sports should address the following: facilitation of local governments to carry out their expected responsibilities, make provisions for climate-smart kitchens, and ensure that there is a head teacher's residence. On the other side, they should include other grounds for different sports disciplines. I remember, honorable members, last week we debated and were applauding the national netball team. But in the provision of the new schools, such other sports facilities are not provided for. Madam Speaker, allow me to conclude. The proposed loan is concessional in nature. Thus, consistent with the medium-term debt strategy for financial year 2020-2021, which prioritizes external financing over domestic financing with preference to concessional borrowing. It is also consistent with the external debt principle that requires borrowing for social sector to be on concessional terms. This project is also economically viable given the merits that will accrue from the enhanced access to lower secondary education by focusing on underserved populations in targeted areas, as well as the improvement in the education system and policies in places for quality teaching and learning. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee recommends that the proposal by government to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights, equivalent to $90 million from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Project, be approved subject to the recommendations herein. I beg to move.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson of National Economy. The issue is about borrowing money to improve on the schools now that our children are going to schools. Improve on the sports facilities, the expansion of the schools. Don't debate because you just want to say a word. Yes, Ferigo.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to thank the chairperson for the elaborate report. And truly, it's been with us for a while, and it's acceptable. May I ask, Right Honourable Speaker, through you, that the chairperson and the committee were able to appreciate, because I expected a comment on the status of our SDR, because SDR is not cash, it's the equivalent of our gold reserves with the Bretton Woods institutions. Did you have time to evaluate the status of our SDR initially? 2, a quick check. At the time the report was made, one ex-SDR is the equivalent of $1.4 US, translating into $91.882 million. Meaning that when you do even simple abacus, you have a balance of 6.7 billion equivalent of Ugandan shillings. Did you see that? Who wants to pocket that balance? Did you make the calculation? Before we even debate, can we get that basic out of the picture so that we debate, aware that the figures were properly reconciled, that would not say we borrowed 90, when actually it is 91.88, the equivalent of Uganda shilling 6.7 billion. that we know the basics and then we move on.
Honorable Chair, but also what we are borrowing is 65.6 million US dollars. The equivalent that will come from Uganda, you cannot determine now. It's no longer the 90. It can even be less or more. So you will use our rate as of today. That will be available. But what we are borrowing is in dollars.
Right Honorable, 65 million US dollars. 0.6 is the equivalent of SDR, yeah, so SDR is the equivalent of 91.8, yeah, and a single SDR is 1.400. If you take that computation, you have a balance. If you take a quick calculation, was it considered or we work backwards? Just one second.
Chair, just respond to that.
Right Honorable Speaker, at the time when we're processing this loan, the special drawing right was considered. That's why we came with an equivalent of 90 million US dollars. Currently, I may not be very thorough to say the rate of an SDR in relation to the dollar. But once at the time of processing the loan, it was equivalent to 90 million US dollars.
He's talking in terms of estimate. Continue.
So I believe that our figures are right based on the timing at that time. Call upon the Minister of Finance should be in position to give us the right figure of the SDR as of now.
Right Honorable Speaker, and friends, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Special drawing rights equated to the exchange rate. Yes, please. I know what I'm talking about. Now, today, the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Uganda shillings is 3,600.
It's about the prevailing exchange rate at the time. Yes, Ferrigo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank the Minister and the Chair for what they have presented to us about the borrowing. Madam Speaker, I also support that we should endorse the borrowing for some obvious reasons. Literacy levels will increase, cost of education will reduce because we shall have many government facilities. I support that we endorse the borrowing. However, Madam Speaker,
In the report, there were some recommendations, and I want to emphasize on some of these recommendations. One of the recommendation and observation was looking at the GDP debt ratio. According to International Monetary Fund standard, when we go beyond 50% GDP debt ratio, as a country, we are rated as credit risky. When we borrow, which we endorse, we should be conscious that already as a country, we are going to be rated as credit risky because our GDP debt ratio will have gone beyond 50%.
Honorable Feriga, I want to refer you to the conclusion where the chairman said this loan is consistent with the medium-term debt strategy of 2020-2021, meaning that we are within the borrowing limit.
Madam Speaker, with due respect, he had indicated that according to the report that we are already at 49%. According to the report, currently before the borrowing. So when we add this loan, we are going to shoot beyond 50%.
By the way, the loan is not stagnant. Others are being paid and the loan reduces.
Madam Speaker, secondly is about our running budget. Right now, Madam Speaker, our budget of around 45 trillion Uganda shillings has a provision of 15 trillion shillings when it comes to loan repayment. I am saying we are going to borrow, but we should also be aware that this borrowing, when it comes to loan repayment, there's a way it's going to stress our budget further. And I'm saying, as we are borrowing, let's be conscious about that. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, is about our history of mismanagement of loan borrowed funds. We need, as Parliament, to be very, very serious this time around. Do we have a scenario of Lubowa International Hospital where 1.4 trillion shillings was injected in the project? When you go down there is no value for money. This time around, as we borrow this money, we should have clear stringent measures in implementing the expenditure of this money so that there is real value for money. This one, I want to make it clear to the members that we should be, as we clear the borrowing, let's follow up on how to get value for money. Finally, Madam Speaker.
Let's limit our debate to borrowing for the schools that are touched as an annex.
We need them, but
this
value
is
for money.
education, boss.
Finally,
I am speaking. Let's limit the debate to borrowing for the schools, not for health. We asked a report for Lubowa. Now we are saying let's borrow. You are the same people who want our children to go back to school. And we want these children really to go back to school. So the project, and I'm looking at what the committee is saying, it's a viable, the project is also economically viable given the merits that will accrue from the enhanced access to lower secondary education by focusing on unserved population which is being targeted. Let's not divert ourselves from what is on the report to Lubowa. We know very well that everybody is dissatisfied with the Lubowa, but let's give a trial to education sector. Honorable Solomon, you finished?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to seek a procedural guidance. From the committee's report, per June 2021, this year, our debt portfolio had risen to 49.9% of our GDP ratio. And now, once you factor in this loan alone, Right Honorable Speaker, the simple calculation from the 90, even without going to the $92 million, but just take it 90, we shoot up to around 340 billion, 200 million. Now, if we had clocked the 49.9, and now you add this, there is no way you can say we haven't reached the threshold of 50%. We have already reached. And number two, Right Honorable Speaker, you've been knowing the culture of committee reports. We had famous chairpersons, Honorable Said Abumba amongst others. They raise all the concerns, all the ills, all the landmines. But the conclusion doesn't reflect the body of the report. The conclusion is contrary. It must have been superimposed. The conclusion is not flowing from the body of the report. And you want to escape by saying subject to the recommendations. If we can't factor in the recommendations at this stage, and we order aye, then at what stage will those anomalies be corrected, Right Honorable Speaker? So are we proceed on a matter where we have no concrete examples, concrete figures, then we agree to ourselves, Right Honorable Speaker?
Can we find out from the Minister on the percentage of the loan, whether we are still within the ceiling or outside the ceiling?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'll just inform this House that this loan is a part and a parcel of our already date numbers. So by acquiring it, just hold on. The very moment we come to Parliament to to go to Cabinet and eventually come to Parliament, we include that loan in our date figure. So the ratio now, as we speak, I think is 49 something. This loan is already taken care of. I thought I should give that information.
So the loan, the 65.6 is included in the 49.9%.
Precisely, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to be with you.
So do you include it before it is approved?
Exactly.
Do you include it before it is approved?
I have not well captured your point, Madam.
You see what the members are saying, that you're saying this loan is part of the 49.9%.
Yes, it is.
And you included it in your report.
Exactly. It is included.
Now the issue is, how would you include it in the report before it is approved by cabinet and before it's approved by Parliament? Or it's a planning process that you do?
Madam Speaker, as I've told you, when we go to Cabinet and eventually we come to Parliament, the loan we are discussing now is already embedded in our date figure. I don't know whether I'm clear. It's already embedded. It's not something now we are saying, if you approve this loan, then we shall add it on, and then we go overboard. Can I maybe suggest...
Can you continue, Minister?
Now, Honorable Sechiko is saying it's not true. I would be too happy if he can produce his own figures here.
Members,
no, please, come.
The Honorable Minister is very clear and being very sincere that...
Madam Speaker, Can I give some information?
Yes.
Honorable members, actually this project forms part of our the government public investment plan 2021-2022, and it forms part of the budget that was approved in the financial year 2021-2022. So actually this parliament approved the budget where this loan is involved. So I really don't know whether we can approve our budget and then the same parliament rejects to finance the same project.
Clarification. Madam Speaker, clarification.
You said the budget was approved by this parliament, and now you're borrowing money to fund that project, not so? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I just need a clarification on this, that we have not yet approved this. And today we are here going to debate it. But you have already included it in the budget. Are we already not being just rubber stamp? What is the use of us now debating to approve this loan? Why should we do it? I just need that information.
There's information here.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to give information to the House that at the time when we are processing the budget for the financial year 2021-2022 in the Education Committee, the budget that was approved by this House, Parliament allocated Uganda shillings 2,015 million shillings in preparation for this project for USIP. And it was observed that government was not having funds to proceed to provide for the 315 seed schools in the country where there was great need for our children to get shelter for education. And therefore, when we are looking at this loan before we took our report to the National Economy Committee, we observed and recommend that it's very, very important for government to get this money as a support fund for this loan to be acquired so that those schools are constructed. So the information I want to give members further is that if we don't approve this budget, we'll be needing ourselves. So I would propose and recommend, Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, that we proceed and approve this loan.
By the way, this is a budget support loan. It was budgeted for, and we are now just borrowing to support this.
Madam Speaker,
I don't see why we have a lot of debate. Yes, Smagola.
Madam Speaker, the cross-border trader is saying that as this is a budget support a loan, and moreover, schools are opening, and the major need of this country, that education has been in the limbo for 2 years, I see no reason why we should rotate around when education is the backbone of our country. I therefore move, Madam Speaker, you better lead us to see that we approve this loan so that our Ugandan children can have classrooms where to study in. Thank you, Madam
Honorable
Speaker.
Sarah.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, it is clear that this loan is going to help us bridge the gap in those sub-counties that do not have schools, secondary schools, but also in those sub-counties that may have schools, but the schools are in a completely dilapidated state. On that note, Right Honourable Speaker, I move under Rule 59.
Move.
Under Rule 59.
Stop making noise, I'm the speaker here.
Under Rule 59.
Can you sit?
Madam Speaker, that we suspend debate and you put the question. I beg to submit right
Is
now.
the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Speaker, seconded.
The motion is seconded by Taebwa, by the minister, by Peter, by Abigaba. Members, much as this has been seconded, members, much as this has been supported, I am going to accept one statement from only one person, and that is the leader of opposition. I want a statement from the leader of opposition. Much as we go for borrowing, we must have known the statement from the other side.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for your indulgence. First of all, we need to accept our responsibility to our country as political leaders. I'm not aware of any political leader in this house or outside who does not want schools in their community. I'm not aware. But the duty of legislation cannot be done under duress. And if a member has not read a document before Parliament, they have a right not to participate in a debate on it. But, Mr. Speaker, this should be on record, and I want to thank you for your indulgence in allowing us to input. This is borrowing. We are actually borrowing on behalf of generations. Therefore, we should not avoid the duty because we haven't read or because we want to show gusto in. No, all of us want these schools. But we must be careful on how we actually borrow. That's why you have laws. I have 2 points, right, Honourable Speaker. Unless the Minister of Finance in his response will clarify, my understanding of how government has been working on the loans since we passed the budget is that the 49% that is being reflected in the report excludes the $1 billion budget support that was approved by IMF board on 28th June this year. I'll be corrected by the Minister of Finance. 2, when we include that figure, the debt to GDP ratio will be 53.6%, as presented by government in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. If members have not read the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility presented by the Minister of Finance in this House, I don't know why members don't read and want to come here and get confused. The Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, that is before the Budget Committee, talks about 53%. So how can somebody in the same Parliament come and present a different figure when we have a figure presented by the Minister of Finance to this House? That one, Speaker. So the Minister of Finance will have to advise the House whether what was presented to Parliament in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility was a fat lie, and therefore this report is capturing the right information so that it can go on record.
Honorable Court, is there another house here?
I wanted that to be on record, Right Honourable Speaker. 2, Right Honourable Speaker, I want to invite members to appreciate why we need this facility but properly processed. One of the challenges is that Uganda, in the sector, we are also alive to the obligation and attendant future challenges and obligations. Very, very important when you are leaders. Lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to get commitment from government because in the third year of the project, government is supposed to offer counter funding, the equivalent of 76 billion Ugandan shillings. The Minister of Education and that of Finance should confirm to Parliament that this money has been put in the MTEF, first of all, and that it will be tabled in the budget framework paper later this month, because very important to secure this financing, especially now, and we capture it so that we even have a report about it regularly until the year of financing, because the danger, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, if it's not captured, then we must prepare for a supplementary, which is a sad way of conducting government business. So I'd like to ask the Minister of Finance to be alive to these obligations, have them captured in the MTEF and the BF, the BFP, that we have a report on them over until the third year of financing to avoid provisions later in the third year of supplementaries because they are not in need. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Lob. And when I look at this loan, Minister of Finance, the loan should be a developmental loan for the schools, for the construction of schools. Yes. Not for training of teachers, not for special, strictly developmental, not recurrent. This must be taken in on account. And we'll need to do accountability for this loan that we are giving out. We approve on condition that it's a developmental loan, not a recurrent loan.
Procedure. Right on.
Dr. Kefa.
Madam Speaker.
Dr. Kefa.
Point of procedure.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Now, the procedure I wanted to raise, and it seems the way we are ending the debate somehow is leaving a bitter taste. But I just wanted to clarify on a few issues. The first thing, actually, although the loan amount that we are talking about is 90 million, actually what we are borrowing is 43 million. 52.1 is a grant. Now, the other thing also that's very interesting about this loan is that it has no interest rate. The interest rate is zero. The other thing that is also very interesting about this loan is that it's from the International Development Association. International Development Association is part of the World Bank Group for assisting poorly developed countries or less developed countries. Access to them is very, very competitive and is based on strict eligibility criteria. Actually, we should be lucky that we can access it. I've seen worse loan as a member of previously member of Committee on National Economy. We would borrow loans of 5%. This one is completely zero.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister of Finance, can you respond to what was raised by Leader of Opposition?
The last point I wanted to raise, Madam.
Yes.
Point of procedure.
Order.
Point of procedure.
Order.
I'm on procedure, sir. The only concern that should be there is about government preparedness to implement the project. That's where we normally get problems.
Yes.
This loan has a commitment fee. And if government commitment fee means that money is being set aside, and if you don't use it, the commitment fee goes up. So what is very important is government should assure us that they are prepared to start on the project because the commitment fee will go up. So it's very important.
Order, Madam Speaker.
So I therefore appeal to the members to actually adopt this, approve this loan without an hesitation.
Dr. Baiga, being an old member of parliament, I thought you don't put somebody on procedure to order. And you don't switch on a mic and start saying order. He's on procedure.
So I conclude, Madam Speaker, in my view, in view of what we've been going through in the past, this is something which is very straightforward and actually shouldn't even attract even much debate. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker.
Members, when you look at the report on table 7, the IDA loan is 66, and then the grant is 44. Well, that's what you look at. But I want the minister to respond to what the leader of opposition asked.
You allow us to.
Can I have the minister respond to what the leader of opposition asked?
Before I respond to what the leader of opposition said, let me throw more light on the benefits of this loan. First of all, almost half of this loan, we are now presenting you here the borrowing. But there is a grant, which is almost, the grant is how much? $60 million US, as opposed to $90 million, which is a loan. This facility, let me call it that way, is meant to build 116 secondary schools. In sub-counties that do not have a secondary school as we speak now, then 34 of those 116 are supposed to be built in the refugee posting areas. There is even more. I don't know whether the committee, maybe because some of us may not have read the report in detail, this loan is there to help even to cater for people with special needs, including their equipment and materials. There is also this loan and grant is meant to enhance policy development within the sector. But also more significantly, it is also supposed to enhance capacity building of staff, both at the ministry and even in the schools. So I thought I should give this background information. Can I finish, please? Let me finish. So that when you are debating, you will debate with something that you realize the value. And of course, if we do not take the loan, and my technical officers were telling me, I'm not threatening, please don't misunderstand me, don't say the minister now is trying to threaten us, no. Then the loan, together with the grant, they will be withdrawn. We must take a decision by end of January. I have been trying to write, I've written a letter, sorry? Oh, I see. Well, I'm glad, Madam Speaker, they are saying that the decision has already been taken. I'm very happy about that one. I have no quarrel. That's what I came here to get from you, so that we can go. But, yes, please, yes.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for giving way for clarification. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm looking at the World Bank data on the balance of payment. And I can clearly see that right from the 1980s, Uganda has been having a negative balance of payment, only that of recent it is extremely negative to the extent of negative 2.4 billions. This is close to 10 trillions. Balance of payment. Now, balance of payment would affect our exchange rate, and definitely
Order,
given...
Madam Speaker.
Honorable members.
I'm on clarification. I'm on clarification.
I don't understand your clarification.
Order, Madam Speaker.
Please, give me time.
There is an order.
Order.
Now,
There is an order.
Madam Speaker, I'm very proud of your guidance of this House, Madam Speaker.
There is an order.
Order, Madam
Dr.
Speaker.
Batwa, there is an order.
Madam Speaker, before I submit, I would like your protection from Honorable Sekikubo, my mentor. He taught me good manners in the Parliament of the 10th Parliament.
Honorable Sechikubo. Honorable Sechikubo. Actually,
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Sechikubo, we have been at peace when you are away.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Sekubo is my mentor. He taught me how to organize and disorganize, but he's disorganizing his student. Madam Speaker, you guided the House very well. 2 days and yesterday, that during our submission, we should not put a lot of relying on social media information. Madam Speaker, a honorable minister in the shadow cabinet, the Ministry of Health, has stood before the August House submitting information from what you really advised us, Madam Speaker. From Google. I therefore, Madam Speaker, I don't know whether my good friend, the Shadow Minister of Health, is in order to submit information from social media.
Members, honorable members, honorable members, I now put a question that a motion for resolution of Parliament
Madam Speaker, we still
to
have
authorize
issues.
government
Madam Speaker,
to
we
borrow
still have issues.
65.6 million special drawing rights equivalent to 90 million US dollars from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda secondary school education expansion projects be adopted by this House. Those in favor say aye, and those
aye.
The ayes have it. Members, we have a report on HIV/AIDS that from Parliament that we need to be given to the country. Commissioner.
Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm not sure.
Members, please listen to the Commissioner.
Right Honorable Speaker, I stand on behalf of the Parliamentary Commission to present the World AIDS Day message from Parliament. Today, we remember our loved ones and those who have lost in the battle.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the International AIDS Day of 1st December, every December of the year, is a well-known international day which we observe as a country. Right Honorable Speaker, throughout all the past years of this House, such a matter can only be presented on behalf of government by a minister. Number two, even we have our own forum on HIV/AIDS. But on this specific one, right, on this specific one, right, Honorable Speaker, it is a matter that touches government, the people of Uganda. Unless when government has abdicated its role and duty today, it's never. It can only be advanced by government. Is the Honorable Commissioner therefore proceed right to proceed to present a statement on the HIV and International AIDS Day when we know that this is the duty and the responsibility of government, and for him he takes it up as a statement from Parliament? This cannot be a statement from Parliament. This is a statement of government.
Honorable Sechkubo, we are acting as per Rule 54(1). We expected a minister of presidency to come and make a statement on AIDS Day. The minister did not come, but we are making our statement as Parliament. Why would you refuse the commissioner to make his statement? This is our statement as leadership of Parliament. Can you go ahead? Go ahead. Remember, there are three arms of government: there's executive, legislature, and judiciary.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for your wise ruling. Right Honorable Speaker, today we remember our loved ones and those we have lost in the battle, and send our encouragements to those who continue to care for their sick. We also remember those who have set the pace for the fight against the scourge of HIV and AIDS in Uganda. Those who have openly fought stigma and through positive living impacted on the lives of their communities. Right Honorable Speaker, we recognize the special efforts of government led by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in the fight against HIV/AIDS in this country. We salute our frontline workers who always go beyond their call of duty to ensure that there is a service despite the challenges. Right Honorable Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about its complications, like affecting access to antiretroviral therapy, increase the pressure on our health systems, where many people are now seeking access to health services in different hospitals, and in one way or another challenged us to do better to attend to the health needs of our people in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, Parliament is committed to ensuring that we increase efforts in creating awareness and fighting stigma in our communities against HIV and AIDS. We have to look into improving the budgeting, and this is because we are the custodians of the budgeting as Parliament of Uganda. And deliberately of ending HIV/AIDS by 2030. And on behalf of the Parliamentary Commission, the statement is signed by Honorable Anita Annett Among, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you, Honorable Sechkubo, for being part of Parliament. Members, I adjourn the House to 2 tomorrow.
They came, they campaigned. You believed them, you trusted them with your votes.
I, Jacob Lokori Olanya.
Now they are in the August House. Join your public broadcaster every Tuesday and Thursday as we bring you our extended broadcast